Hello and welcome back to An Old Man Watches, where today I'm going to be talking about the supposed action comedy Malibu Express from 1985. Our main character is Cody Aberline, a handsome private investigator who is apparently also an independently wealthy playboy. Cody's primary personality traits appear to be that he's A, irresistible to women, and B, the world's worst marksman. He couldn't hit a barn if he was standing inside it. Basically, imagine Magnum PI if Magnum was 10 times the horn dog and 1/10 the actual investigator. For some inexplicable reason, a US government agency decides that Cody is the right man to investigate a wealthy family who may or may not be involved in selling computers to the Soviet Union, or at least knowingly shipping those computers to our so-called allies who then sell them to the communists, as one of the characters puts it. Cody's method of investigating seems to mostly be to just kind of hang around the house under a flimsy cover story, sleeping with any hot ladies that happen to pass by, and boy, there are a lot of those. Will Cody save the day despite the fact that he spends more time investigating ladies' bodies than he does the case? Of course he will. Will you be entertained along the way? Well, that's a much more debatable question. Malibu Express was written, produced, and directed by Andy Sidaris. Sidaris had previously been a television sports director. In fact, he won an Emmy for his work on the 1968 Summer Olympics. But he was perhaps better known as the originator of the so-called honey shot, leering camera close-ups of cheerleaders and pretty girls in the stands at sporting events. It's likely, based on that latter piece of information, that you can imagine the kind of movies he set out to make, and Malibu Express will absolutely conform to those expectations. When Showgirls was released in 1995, the LA Times wrote that the film somehow managed to make extensive nudity exquisitely boring. They were perhaps unaware that Sidaris had already achieved that outcome in this film a full decade earlier. There is a huge suffit of naked female flesh in this film, with nude scenes and sexual encounters occurring with such monotonous regularity that there are points in the film where even Cody gets fed up of women throwing themselves at him. While Raymond Chandler is credited with the advice, when in doubt, have a man come through a door with a gun in his hand, I suspect Sidaris' writing mantra was, when in doubt, distract the audience with some nudity. Heck, even when Cody finally solves, for certain definitions of the term, the mystery, and we get an Agatha Christie-style Poirot, I've gathered you all here today sequence, Sidaris still manages to work some cheesecake into that scene. Frankly, any hint of actual titillation or sexiness is well and truly gone from the film by the time it is even halfway over. The parade of naked flesh is so matter-of-fact and incessant that it rapidly loses all impact or interest. Even if, frankly, you were a teenage boy, I think you'd get bored of this. Now, as I said at the start of the video, Malibu Express is ostensibly an action comedy. Alas, it fails to successfully achieve either satisfying action or any laughs, or at least not intentional ones. Now, to be more than fair to Sidaris, the fact that the action elements are poor appears to be mostly deliberate. The film really hammers home that Cody is more of a lover than a fighter. He's not much for fisticuffs, and he's completely useless with a gun. Fortunately for his survival chances, but not for the film's entertainment value, the bad guys he encounters are even less competent than he is, so they all tend to flail ineffectually as well. This display of ineptitude is presumably intended to provide some of the laughs that would justify the comedy tag. It really doesn't, which is hardly surprising since Sidaris' idea of prime comedy is to have a buxom female character with the surname Knockers with an extraneous H stuck into it to, I guess, try and pretend it's German or something. But, the joke is she's got big bosoms and her surname is Knockers, and, that's the whole joke, which is, it's not exactly cutting-edge comedy stuff. Now, believe it or not, Sidaris would go on to make no further than 11 more films after this one before finally retiring in the late 1990s. With two exceptions were written by his son, and which he only produced, Sidaris wrote and directed all of these movies. Like Malibu Express, they all feature nonsensical plots and atrocious dialogue, and most also have lashings of gratuitous but unsexy nudity. Unlike this film, though, a few of them actually managed to be mostly unintentionally entertaining, despite their laboured, ham-fisted dialogue, awkward acting, and absurd narratives. In the best of them, for very broad definitions of best, Sidaris' blithe disregard for dangling subplots, narrative causality, or common sense combined with his other peccadillos to form a goofy, cheesy concoction that is silly enough to be fun. That's a goal that Malibu Express never comes close to achieving. You can safely leave it in the DVD bin of history. Next time, it takes real effort to squander the sizzling on-screen duo of Bogart and Bacall, but in my opinion, 1947 offering Dark Passage manages it. But that's next time. Until then, thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you've seen today's movie, let me know what you thought of it.